Good day, everyone. Welcome to our live webinar, The Fundamentals of IT Infrastructure for Business Continuity. Together with our speakers, we aim to address the risks companies face when their employees work from home, as well as the importance of securing your organization's future with business continuity and disaster recovery during this new remote work landscape. After this talk, we want you to be equipped with the knowledge to develop and execute a robust business continuity and disaster recovery. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you our guests. First, we have Jeffrey Illum. He is an Azure Applications and Infrastructure Manager at Microsoft. He built his career and fueled growth in the real world of organizational leadership, marketing, and business development. He is responsible for Microsoft Azure Business Planning, GBB, TSP, engineering team alignment, and enablement across Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia new markets. We are also joined by Tulasi Sean, a Microsoft Cloud specialist. He is an agile and DevOps enthusiast and a solution architect with more than 20 years of experience helping organizations with their digital transformation. He is an inventor who created the industrial cloud barcode printing, Open Dispatch middleware, and Chrome plugin for web automation, and many more. Lastly, we have Gayan Vimalaratna, a Microsoft Cloud, Infra and IT Security Senior Technology Specialist in TechOne Global. He is skilled and certified in Microsoft Cloud and Infrastructure Technologies with more than 5 years of experience in networking and IT security. He also has a master's degree focused on computer science, specializing in security engineering from University of Moratuwa. Microsoft certified trainer and an experienced lecturer with a demonstrated history of working in the higher education sector. All right. So Jeffrey, Tulasi, and Gayan, how are you guys doing today?
Excellent. We are good. Glad to be here and look forward to have
Excellent, Tara. Yeah.
discussion.
Nice to meet you all. Hi.
All right, great.
Hi all. Thank you very much for the live session.
Yeah. So everyone looks like we're all excited, right? And I'm sure our audience are also excited too. So we actually have an in-depth conversation ahead of us. So let's get started. For the first question, I'd like to address this to Tulasi. All right. So Tulasi, just to ask, are backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity all the same? And if not, what are their biggest differences?
Sure. If you can put my slide on the screen, I can explain that. Yeah, so business continuity, disaster recovery, people think that having certain tools or certain processes alone is going to address their business continuity and disaster recovery plan. But for me, the real business continuity is a combination of people, tools, and processes. You need to have the right people responsible for doing certain things. They need to have the plan and they need to have everything documented. They need to follow a particular process and they also need to have the right tool so that they can achieve the business continuity and disaster recovery. So it is not about tools, it is a combination of people, processes, and tools. Also, people think that taking a backup is going to give them the business continuity or disaster recovery. We will look at certain use cases later, but backup is all about taking your data backup and having the ability to restore them. The disaster recovery is what if something disastrous happened? Let's say there is a fire event, or maybe the entire building got blasted by a bomb. So how do you recover from such disaster? It can be human-made, it can be God's act, it can be anything. So how do you recover from that? Also, I want to highlight people also confused with high availability. High availability does not have anything to do with business continuity or disaster recovery. So that's the takeaway that I want to let people take away is business continuity is a plan, disaster recovery is a process, and a combination of tools as well. That's my point.
Thank you for that, Tulasi. So it is really a combination of the three, right? So people,
Right.
processes, and tools, and they go hand in hand, right? So yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
for that. Any other? Would you like to add to that, Jeffrey or Guyan?
I think Tulasi covered it all. We can
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, Guyan.
Yeah. Pretty much, Tulsi said was correct. So that most of people think that the tool is the main point, but we need to understand that the people and the processes and the tools are combined together. So it's not only the IT that who is responsible to decide this BCDR strategy or the technical perspective. So it should come from the business side as well. So what's most important to them, especially how the business should continue, what are the critical processes that they have in terms of businesses, not terms of the IT infrastructure, but in terms of the business services as well. So the IT should align with the business, the processes, and the people, stakeholders to have this proper BCIR strategy.
Sure. So it really has to be a collective effort to make things work,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, correct.
All right. Thank you for that, Tulasi and Guyan. So for the next question, I'd like to ask, given that we already know that it has to be really a collective effort, right? And everything needs to go hand in hand. So this goes to Jeffrey, right? So how can backup and disaster recovery contribute to the business continuity of an organization?
All right. So I'm going to put the same question to you back, right, to the audience, asking how can it not contribute? Just imagine one of the causes, like the operational failures, the natural disasters, and the human cost events, which I'll be going into detail, hits your DC and your system is down, and you have no access to your data application. Can your business continue, or can it continue? So just take a scenario, right? Just imagine an operation like a ports authority who needs to manage the shipping, porting, clearance, etc. Every minute of the delay will cause millions of dollars of penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine they have a downtime. What is the business impact? It's huge. They simply can't afford to have a single downtime because it's going to cost them in dollars, right? I hope the proper slide is
Yeah,
being
yeah.
displayed. Yeah, right. So today's perception or um, today's perception, right, is these are the causes of IT disasters. How are we going to mitigate this? Operational failures, power failures, IT hardware failure, network failure, you name it. Then natural disasters. You can't predict nowadays, right? Hurricanes and floods and all those water storms, fire, earthquake is like a very common term for everyone. And human cost events, human errors, chemical spill, terrorism, right? Malicious outsider or a malicious insider. You have so many cases which happens around, right? It can affect your downtime and it will affect your business continuity. So today's perception is if you have a server, you can run any system. Yes, you can run any system. Imagine due to one of the compelling reasons why what I explained earlier, right? The hardware fails, for an example. And for the customer's bad time, we have great experience in going through a lockdown and a COVID-19 due to the COVID-19 situation. Just imagine if it's a lockdown and the hardware spare is not able to be replaced or needs to be brought down from a different country. Take China for an example. How long will it take? Minimum 3 months, right? Can your business wait? Yes, it can break, but it's going to impact you big time. You would have lost your customers. You would have lost your business entirely. So it's very important.
All
Why
right.
back cloud?
Mhm.
There was this old era where, looking at backup tapes, right? Why do companies take the backup tapes 100 kilometers apart from the primary site? Because, and it is stored on premise. Just imagine a tsunami hits, or there is a situation like a earthquake, right? What's going to happen? Your 100 kilometers is also at stake, right? Why is it important to have it on the cloud? This is where the cloud comes into the great play, right? Just imagine it's a nuclear attack and the entire country gets wiped out. How will the 100 kilometers mechanism work, like I explained? Today, the same can be recovered from the cloud, and the backup is readily available and highly secure, which is with the biggest or the most highest availability, which can be accessed anytime through the zone redundancy options we have, the geographical redundancy options we have. They are, say, for an example, the most closest subsidiary or the Azure data center is in Singapore. Just imagine the entire Singapore gets wiped out or gets hit by a nuclear bomb. You still have your data safe because the secondary can be taken based on your business's importance. You can always run your systems from the next available geography, which is the closest. That's Hong Kong and Chennai. So that's how the business continuity come to place and how cloud plays the major role in helping each and every business. Thank you.
All right. That's a very detailed answer,
Yeah.
Jeffrey, and thank you for that, right? Because you really was able to give examples and really highlight the importance of having a business continuity, disaster recovery plan in place, and also the possible repercussions that'll happen, right? And so, would you like to add to that, Tulasi or Gayan?
No,
Yeah,
Ara, I think,
let me
yeah,
go first. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Gayan. Let me go first. I think, yes, Jeffrey highlighted some of the very important points.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly stated that it is not only about IT failures or natural disasters, it is also human errors. So, what we have seen, maybe we will discuss further based on the questions. What we have discovered is that there are many disasters happening due to hackers. So typically, what we have seen is in large organizations, the ransomware attackers, they come and sit within the network for minimum 180 days before they start their attack. So without anyone noticing, we have seen attackers sit and watch what's happening, and then they make a decision when to attack, what is the right time to attack, so that the impact will be huge for the business. So this is a very important point that many people miss out. How do you prevent that human acts? How do you prevent how do you recover from such disasters? Is an important concept that nowadays many people are thinking about. Yes, it is covered under cybersecurity, but I would also consider this as a disaster recovery mechanism as well. Gayan, go ahead. You want to add something?
No, Tulsi, yeah, you address that one, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, actually related to that, you're actually the next question is actually related to your answer, Tulasi, right? So the next question is actually for Gayan. So, what
Sure.
are the biggest mistakes organizations make when creating their business continuity and disaster recovery plan? So, Tulasi mentioned quite a few already, but maybe you can elaborate more on that, Gayan.
Yeah, the biggest mistake could be not having a plan. So other than that, uh, the main problem could be that having a not clear understanding on what is the difference between the backup and DR? Some may think having a backup is enough. Some may think having a DR or disaster recovery or the replication is enough. But if we dig deeper, like the replication, the most of the time say that we have replications. We have this high availability enabled so that our databases are real-time backed up to a different server. So in that case, we don't require a backup because that we have the secondary database. But they don't consider the fact that what about this the human errors? What will happen that if in case someone deletes a file or the database from one server, so that will be that error will be also replicated to the another server, so that it propagates across the all the high availability infrastructure, where that you'll be having errors or is the encrypted or a corrupted copy everywhere. So that having one solution is not a good practice. So that we need to consider the backup point as well. So the another perspective is that the IT organizations or these the people who are involved in the technical side or this the IT management side are afraid to explain this criticalness of this having the backup and the DR to the business management. Luckily for some organizations, the decision come from the top management to the IT to look after a backup solution or a DR, but since that it may involve additional cost to the IT budget. So the business managers or the IT the people are reluctant to speak up and to explain that what if that my primary the server the database server the Active Directory goes down. So what are the options that you have? So that the other point is that people may think having this high availability like 99.99 the availability is enough to run the business, but we don't consider that the remaining 0.01 or the 1%. So what if that happens? So what if that the 99 availability is met, still that we will be having a certain downtime. So that we need to understand that downtime is acceptable from the perspective of the business, because that sometimes these 99.9 the availability could be a loss of 20 minutes to 40 minutes per month. So would that be acceptable from the business perspective? So we need to consider that as well. So recently I went to a customer and he said that we don't need to require backup because that we have this the RAID arrays, which means that this level redundancy. But he was not aware that it is not only having this the physical level of high availability that enough for the organization, but when I explained, so what if that ransomware attack came and encrypt this hard disk drive? So do you have any other solution to recover? So then only that he realized that that we need to have this backup as well in case, as Tulsi mentioned, ransomware or attack comes, how to recover this business data. And some may think having like for the cloud storage is enough for as a backup solution, like would be the OneDrive or a Dropbox or any other the preferred the cloud storage providers. But that also will be having this replication scenario. Let's say that whatever that you store in the OneDrive or any other storage location which is constantly synced to a cloud will have this impact. Like if you delete a file, so that will be deleted from the cloud side as well, and unless that the cloud service provider additionally provide a backup option from their end. So you need to think of that one as well. Not having a just a cloud storage is not good enough for backup. We need to have a point in time recovery point as well. So that could be that again could be differentiated or could be based on their business the continuity requirement. It could be like 15 minutes for a database, or it could be a 1 day good copy for the VM or a virtual machine. So it could differ, but you need to have like at least some sort of a backup or a DR mechanism. And again, other thing could be this lack of testing and the verification. You may regularly taking the backup or this DR, but you're not testing that one properly. So when the disaster happens, only you understand that the backup also not working, because that the backup tools or these disaster recovery procedures are expensive. That the people are reluctant to test that one unless that is a compliance requirement, or this could be a regular drill that you need to happen as a policy. Other than that, the people are not testing that the backup properly. So you need to ensure that the backup that you have taken is recoverable as well. Uh, and again, it could be the automation problem. So some may take the backups manually, like rather than investing on a tool, they take a manual copy each and every day and manually store it to certain location. So that human error could occur in such cases. And again, that is not a continuous or a frequent process. The person is not available at the work at that day, so that the backup might not be taken. So likewise, certain steps of for the automation is required. So these are the points I would like to highlight. Tulasi, is there anything that you would like to add here as well?
Yeah, Gayan, I think you covered some of the very good points here. I would like to suggest a few things here. I think you touched upon a very good point. How many people are doing DR drill today? DR drill should not be just for the sake of doing things. It's I have seen even in some of the companies that I have worked in the past, people do fire drill and they take it as a fun. On that day, they go out, they have drinks, and then they come back. So that's the kind of
Yeah,
fire drill. But when the actual fire incident happens, then people panic. They don't know what to do, whom to contact. They don't know. So that's the type of DR drill that we see in some of the IT houses today. We should not be having that because IT resources are very expensive. Yes, human resources are even more expensive, but we are taking it as fun. That's an unfortunate thing. But really, we need to do the DR drill with real significance. We need to really analyze what is happening. So DR drill is number one for me. Number two, we have seen in certain places you go and ask, okay, how much downtime you can afford. People will immediately come back and say, no, no, we can't have any downtime. Then we immediately ask, okay, are you ready to pay 3 copies of the same? Then they will say, oh no, that is too expensive. So we need to balance. If there is a downtime, how much business loss that you're going to make, how much money you are going to lose. So Jeffrey was highlighting very good point. This is I was working with Jeffrey on a dockyard, and we went there. We were asking, okay, what if this system is not available for half an hour? Then they mentioned that if a ship docks and if they don't unload it within the half an hour, they have to pay millions of dollars in penalty because these ships have to come in, dock, download, and they have to move on. There'll be another ship coming in, they'll have to download. So if there is a delay cost, it is going to cause a delay for many other ships as well. Therefore, there is a penalty system and it is going to cost them millions of dollars. Therefore, we can't afford to have a half an hour downtime. In that scenario, we need to have hell a lot of redundancy, quite a lot of DR testing capabilities. But if I go to another shop where the person was saying that, yeah, we can't have downtime, then I said, okay, what if the system is completely down? What will happen? Today, what are you doing? Then they said, okay, they collect receipts in paper. And tomorrow, when the system is up, they can put it into the system. Is it going to create a huge business impact right now? No. In that case, do you need to plan for an expensive BCDR? Absolutely no. So that's where I see people make mistake. They look at certain things and based on people's perceptions, they try to implement certain BCDR. It should not be per people's perception. There has to be business value for it. That is the biggest mistake that I have seen everywhere. And I hope these two errors can be corrected. Then I think BCDR will make more sense.
Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you for that, Tulasi and Gayan. So I hope our audience will really take note of these things that they have mentioned so that we won't be able to do them and apply them in our organizations, right? So, yeah, I'm going to the next question. This is for you, Tulasi, right? So, what is the role of backup and disaster recovery plan or play rather in protecting a remote workforce?
Sure. So I would like to start with certain stats that we have gathered. So this is what you see on the screen right now. So this is a real data
Mm-hmm.
collection that we did. So as you can see, people had a lot of redundant power in their hardware capacity. So before February 2020, the usage, you can see it is less than 50%. They had certain capacity for any other purposes. But immediately after the COVID hit, that's where we see that there is a huge impact on the IT resource usage. So this is a real fact. I can't name the company, but we collected this from a company, and then this is a good lesson for people. So why I am highlighting that here is because the role of BCDR in remote working is having quite a lot of impact. So let me start by saying that people are going into paperless or contactless modes. As we know, this situation right now, we are talking about remote working because of the COVID, and it is forcing us to use the IT resources. People don't want to touch, even handshaking itself is a bad practice nowadays. So people try to avoid as much as possible. They want to go with contactless or paperless approaches. So what is it going to be replaced with? They are going to be replaced with IT systems. Therefore, IT systems, the reliance on the IT systems are becoming so huge. So when you are designing certain software, you need to make sure that IT systems are given sufficient thought. The BCDR is given sufficient thought. So I want to highlight few incidents that happen in this region. I believe the people from this region are in this call. I don't want to name the companies. It'll become a bad reputation, but Microsoft was involved in helping quite a lot of organizations. Maybe some of you have already seen this in your local newspapers as well. So one incident that came was a supermarket. Supermarket underestimated the online orders, and when the COVID hit, people started ordering, and when people started flogging, the website crashed. And what is the mechanism that they had in order to recover? They couldn't recover for at least solid 2 weeks. And everywhere on the social media, people started throwing all the bad comments about that particular supermarket. So that came as a loss of reputation. But the good news is they recovered much faster. They came up with certain practices. They consulted with Microsoft. We helped them, and they designed a system which can tolerate such influx of human traffic, the network traffic. So all these things need to be considered. Similarly, there was a telco where during the COVID times they got attacked by a ransomware. Like what I said, the ransom attackers were there in the system for 180 days. That is, even before the COVID started, they were sitting inside the system. And they just realized because of the COVID, everyone started using telephones, everyone started using mobile data, etc. They saw the picture that the peak usage is going up, and they decided to attack on that particular fine day when the usage was at peak. And when they attacked, everyone felt the impact. No one could use their systems. Everyone was relying, and everyone started calling that particular telco, asking them what's going on. And it took 3 days for them to identify where things went wrong. And lucky that they had certain disaster recovery mechanisms, and they recovered, and they were running it in a lower capacity. But they haven't planned. If they have planned it right, they could have prevented this. So that's another example. Another funny example is a utility company. Again, this is in our region. The utility company got attacked, and they didn't want to name themselves. So they hid themselves completely. What they did, they couldn't do the billing correctly. So what they did, they just imagined certain numbers, and they sent the bills out to the customers. And customers got panicked because usually those who were getting $100 or whatever equivalent, they started getting $300, $400 bill. And everyone panicked, and everyone started calling utility company. And finally, the utility company admitted saying that, sorry, we made a mistake, there was an attack, we lost the data, and we are working on certain backups, and the backups also got corrupted. The ransomware attackers got access to the backup also. They encrypted the backup as well. So they couldn't recover from the backup. And that is the point Gayan was mentioning. So just taking a backup or replicating the storage is not going to guarantee business continuity. You need to have the right measures there. So when it comes to remote working, people are not going to go to work, take notes in piece of paper. They are not going to visit each and every customer location and look at their meters, take the meter readings down. People are going to work remotely, rely on IT or infrastructure systems, which are going to send telemetry information. So we need to take care of all these things. I would like to highlight one thing. Microsoft has planned for this day 4 years ago. Every Microsoft employee was given certain things 4 years ago. We were testing rigorously on how do we recover from such disasters. So when the COVID situation happened, we didn't have to do anything. We every Microsoft employee, we felt like, okay, it is just business as usual because we had everything planned. We were doing this, the drills were perfect, so perfect that we didn't have to feel the impact at all. Every time, Microsoft never allows people to leave their laptops in the office. Whenever we go home, we have to take it to home. So this is where the people concept comes in. The processes, yes, Microsoft clearly says don't leave anything that you may require tomorrow in the office. You have to take it with you. So because we were taking it when the curfew was announced, we are in Sri Lanka. So when the curfew was announced in Sri Lanka, we didn't have to panic because we had the computers with us. We simply logged on. Microsoft gave us the connectivity tools as well. We connected, we logged into our VPN, we started working as usual. And we had the teams, that is the preferred mechanism of connecting with each other. And we logged into Teams, we started chatting with our colleagues, and we started communicating to our engineering team. And business was very much as usual. So we planned this 4 years ahead, and that's why we were able to do it without any effort. That is the level of preparation that you need. And I'm very glad to see many organizations have taken the right steps today to work remotely at the same time to recover from disaster, not only IT disasters like COVID situation. They have mechanisms in place right now, but we need to see, we need to think, we need to plan it ahead, not wait until the disaster hits. We need to start planning that ahead. That's the only thing that I think of. Anyone wants to add anything here?
No, Tulsi. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Yeah, well said, Tulasi. I think during that period, we had the most when it comes to the productivity. And we had virtual parties also happening while we were helping our customers, right? So, yeah. So it's a process. It's a culture change. So you have to face it if you are to continue having a business continuity. Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you for that. Well, it is really important to really have a plan, and not just a plan. It really has to be planned out very well. For us, for organizations to be protected, not just the users or not just the workers, but of course the entire organization, because it will trickle down even to the clients or to whom these companies are giving services to, right? So related to that, going back to people, right? Because you've mentioned that it doesn't have it's not only for IT process people has to be involved as well, right? So this question goes to Gayan, right? So Gayan, what are the business continuity and disaster recovery best practices during the work from home era? Can you share some? I think Gayan, you're on
So
mute.
yeah, yeah sorry.
All right.
Sorry for that. Yes. So, as the best practices in the work from the era, as Tulis mentioned, that we need to have this we need to have an understanding, clear understanding on who has access to what. So when it comes to the data and again the backup as well. So because that it is, you might be having a well-protected environment which is not having access to a certain set of people. The fine-grained access control should be might have been given to these databases and the file servers and everything. But if you are going to give this full access to the backups to someone else, then that may cause a problem because that there are certain backup vendors and the people who are in the backup process as well. So they will be also having the same set of data as the backup, which you have properly protected in the production side. So in such way that we need to understand whether that we have a proper the access control in the backup processes as well, so that no one else should be able to recover the data that they should not recover. So it is applicable to the backup and the DR as well. So the DR side. So we need to ensure that the data that we are replicating the DR side is not accessible to anyone but who are having the proper access. So then we need to understand how they are accessing the data as well. So whether that they need to come on site to turn on these devices. So how they are accessing, whether that they can access it remotely. So in case a lockdown happens in, so for example, that you would have a disaster recovery system where that you need to manually turn it on. But during a lockdown, if you can't visit the data center and manually turn it on, then having the DR or the backup solution also will not be effective. So like you should be having a proper way to trigger the failover or the backup process, even with a proper remote access or a similar solution. So then, what if the data is lost, stolen in the market? So we need to have a plan. So they understand what would be the impact if the data that you are going to back up, or this the backup you are currently in, or this data that are currently in, are sold to the market. So what would be the impact? So whether that you are providing the adequate the protection at the data at the rest, or data at the transit, such things. And we need to understand how you prevent vital information from leaking into your computers, whether that you have a proper mechanism in take the place to prevent such scenarios, and how you do prevent the malicious file getting into the IT ecosystem, whether that these backup systems are properly the protected, or it could be your regular system, the databases, the files, and the servers that you want to protect, plus these backup systems. So you need to make sure that the malicious files should not affect your production as well as the backup as well. So as Tulasi mentioned, if that malicious file is encrypted in the backup also, then there's no point of having this backup. So we need to ensure that the better protection is provided to the production data plus the backup data as well. You need to have this the virus guard or these the advanced threat protection and such features enabled to these backup systems as well, because that it is not just a backup. Since that we are not using frequently, that doesn't mean that you need to provide less security to that side as well. So we need to invest on security on both production side plus the DR or the backup side as well. And you are so mainly that your kids see you are the computer as a toy, because that we have this significant amount of hard disks, the corrupted, and you can't find the replacement, because that if you're having a company owned device or the laptop, so in that case your the home members or your the friends, your family might use that one then and there. So they might infect that one with a malicious file while they are doing such tasks. So in that case, we need to make sure that the entry point to these backups, so could be the systems or these your infrastructure is protected even from the zero trust model, where that where you can't trust the points which are owned by your employees. You need to make sure still the data is protected even from the back end. So if that the person alone can take it back. So some cases the organizations are taking the backups, like the email backups as the PSD files in their own and store that one in their own storage in the laptop, so that the backup and the actual file or the system that you're accessing are in the same system. So if the system is stolen or this your laptop is stolen, so that you will be losing the backup copy as well. So you need to have this centralized mechanism or this way that to recover the data, which will be having a less the involvement from the employee side as well, so end user side as well. So then we need to have this the red team and the blue team, where that we need to test properly whether that the environment can be attacked or not. So there should be a prevention team, and this you need to make sure that you are providing adequate protection while acting as a malicious entity. You need to test your system can be breached by someone else or not, because that you know that the protection is there. So as we are doing for the backup testing, so you need to do the security testing kind of thing as well, in order to ensure that this the data that you are backing up is properly secured. So then we need to leave the responsibility to the experts, the cloud. So rather than you deciding what are the tools, what are the mechanisms that you need to invest on, or how to plan this BCR strategy, or this how to do this the backing infrastructure, the maintenance, the encryption, and the security and everything. So it's better that you to the
I think
yes,
no,
yes.
go
Okay,
ahead.
I was breaking. Sorry. I think Tulasi can add on to that one. So how we can give the responsibility to the experts.
All
Sure,
right.
sure. Thanks, Gan. I think, yeah, Gan touched upon some of the important points here. So I would like to take it one step further. Working from home, there are more things. Yes, what Gan mentioned is the back-end IT systems, the need for backups, the business continuity, and the planning. But it is also personal ethics. This is why I'm coming back to my people, process, and the tools concept, because there is a responsibility for the people as well. So if I am going back to, particularly in this region, if you go to a government agency, what do they do? You go to their desk, you will see piles of papers, and these piles of papers can't be taken home. So with the work from home culture, how are these people going to do? And if the companies allow them to take these papers to home, what will happen if they have kids? They will tear them off. They are important documents, and people are going to play with that. So it is not going to be an environment where people can work on. And you need to have a mechanism even within Microsoft. It is again, this happened 2 to 3 years back. Microsoft announced that we should not be sticking to a workplace. We have hot desk concept everywhere in Microsoft. We have this hot desk concept. People can't keep things on their table. They'll have to put it in their bag, take it away, or there will be separate lockers. If they are not using it frequently, we will have to keep them in the lockers. So people got used to that mechanism. If they need certain documents, they should not be using any papers, but if at all they have to use some papers, it should be with them all the time and in a secure manner. So this is one level of work from home culture setup. You need to have that culture. The second thing is, if people are using computers, what will happen to if you take anybody's computer? Most of the people that I have seen, they put every file in the desktop. And like what Gayan said, if your kids come and play with this, they download a game and that game is full of virus, and the virus comes and encrypts the whole machine. What is going to happen? You can't recover anything. Yes, you are using IT systems, you are putting everything in your computer, but now your computer is lost. Similarly, we had one of the conglomerates that we were working with. They came to us running and saying that, okay, we have let the people take their computers home, and out of the 30 computers that were shipped, three out of them have been damaged. Then we went and looked at what happened. The kid that they had small kids and they were carrying all their water bottles. They went and poured the water into the laptop. That's it. Everything burnt out, no way to recover, because you can't control the kids. But if you are having your files in a cloud safe manner, or regardless of what device that you are using, if you have the ability to take the data from a cloud storage, then you would be not worrying. Oh, if this laptop goes away, I'll get another machine, or I'll use my wife's machine, or I'll use my mobile and then get my file accessed. So that's the level of redundancy, that's the level of thinking that you need to have in order for you to make ready to work from home. If you are going to stick to the old patterns, working with papers, working on your desktop, computer desktop, putting so much of files, storing them in your computers only, is not the modern era. The modern era is you need to have, regardless of what device that you're using, you should be able to use it. And one example that I want to highlight, we were working with one of the FSI industry, where they have very sensitive information being sent across by emails. When the COVID hits, the banking have to continue, but they allowed people to use personal devices. And one bad incident happened. One of the employee, he was using his personal computer, downloading certain account information of a particular personality, and they were working on it. Without realizing, within 3 months, he realized that he has to upgrade his machine. He went ahead and purchased a new machine. At the same time, he handed the old machine, he sold that machine to somebody. And he thought he has formatted the machine. The person who bought it somehow recovered some sensitive files out of that particular computer. And it went on the internet that this was a famous person's account information, and it got leaked out to the social media. Everyone knew what was the salary he was earning, how much savings he has, etc., etc. So imagine, even without people realizing, they are genuinely doing, okay, it's my device, I am selling it into the market. So what is the mistake? Yes, you allowed people to download certain files into personal devices. You should have applied certain controls. So this is where IT systems are lacking. They have to understand what are the risks, and they need to have the right mitigation. Even in Microsoft, we are allowed to use personal devices, but Microsoft has certain mechanisms where they can remotely wipe off certain component, the files, business sensitive files. We deal with quite a lot of business sensitive, customer sensitive information. I can download, I can keep it in my mobile, but when I leave Microsoft, the Microsoft administration knows how to wipe it off remotely, even without me knowing. That's the level of awareness, that's the level of readiness that you need to have before even you go and work from home. There are people who have done this. There are mechanisms, processes, tools available to do it. You need to use them.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So it's really having secure access, proper device management, having also centralized backup and recovery tools. And of course, we need to have agile and expert team. But more than that, as Tulasi mentioned, we also need to make sure that there's an accountability on how we take care of this the data that we have, and of course, to make sure that we also adapt to the modern workplace landscape that we now have. All right. So, talking about people and having these plans, most people, and when I say people, I mean business decision makers, right? They think that having a business continuity or disaster um, or BCDR plan is actually costly or it's expensive, right? Can you explain this and give some examples or how can clarifications on this? Is it really costly, or are there some modifications that we can do depending on the need of the organization?
Uh, okay, I'll answer to that, Pranara.
Go ahead,
So,
Diane.
yeah. As Tulasi said, that we need to first understand, okay, what kind of the level of recovery or this downtime that we can afford. So, what kind of data that we need to the protect. So, in case if we lose this data, what would be the impact? So, based on that only, we need to decide how much that we need to spend on this backup. So, if you are spending a large amount of the money on these backups, but the actual data that you are protecting is not worth that, so that the business may not adapt to that. This finance will not approve that the budget for that particular scenario. So we need to understand what level of the backups or this the continuity that you require, what level of the loss that you can tolerate. So based on that one, we can tailor made this the backup strategy. So how frequently you backup these files, how many copies that you keep, and what are the replication method that you prefer. So based on that one, this the cost can be decided. So there can be the tools that are readily available, or the storage, the locations that you are already having. So for example, for the personal storage, you might be already subscribed to OneDrive, but you might not be using that one. Or since that the OneDrive is not secure, or that what if the data is the deleted, what are the mechanisms that you can take. So based on that one, we can see some certain ways to protect the data that you are already having on OneDrive, or the certain places. You can add certain add-ons or certain the plans to on top of these data to make it secure and usable. So because just because the storage is near there, you might not be able to put the data there because there's no security or to the extent that you require. So we can set the certain levels. But when it comes to this, the backup storage in the industry level, we can start with we have this the Azure, the backup, and the site recovery. So where that you can start with like the $5 the web backup. So like one instance could be started with $5 plus the storage that is consumed. So it is only that you are paying for is the storage, so not for the backup tools. So normally when you are spending on these backup appliances and the subscriptions, you need to have to pay to these the storage devices plus these the subscriptions, or these the software that makes these backup copies or that make the automation. But when it comes to this Azure backup infrastructure, you are only paying for your the storage. The storage consumes, which also where you don't have to purchase upfront, because that when you're costing for the backups, you need to cost for that entire, let's say, the retention duration as well. For example, if you are keeping the data for like the 10 years, then you need to have the storage provision on premise. If you are going with the on premise backup approach, accounting that total storage. But when you are going with this the backup in Azure concept, you can start with a small amount, actually no data at all, and then you can gradually increase the storage amount, and you can pay for the storage amount that you are consuming. So we have the options to customize the solutions based on the requirement and based on the workload that you need to protect. It could be a file server, or it could be just the file that you want to backup, or it could be just a database level backup. We need to have this granular level backup to the database level. It could be the virtual machine that you need to protect. So based on the scenarios, we can customize how the storage can be optimized, what are the best approach that we can do, what's the best tool that we can use. So when it comes to the site recovery, so we have this Azure site recovery as option, where that you can pay only for like when you are having this subscription model, per instance price is like less as $25 per month. Then it is the remaining part will be just the amount of the computing power or the storage that you consume when you are using it as a DR copy. So where that you don't have to have this standby the servers that are running in a DR site. You don't have to worry about the computing power or the RAM power that you require on the DR site. You are replicating only the storage component, where that will be having a real-time replication, near real-time replication to the DR site at the storage level. Whenever the disaster happens, we can spin up these VMs, and the storage or the costing for the storage and the computing power will start accumulating from that point onwards only. So then once that the primary site is up and running again, we can fail back. Then we can decommission the DR site, where that no additional cost is incurred. So that these are the mechanisms that we can see. So we need to identify what level of the backup tool that we require, or what level of protection or this granularity or the retention that we require. Based on that one, we can start with a small backup plan or a tool. Once let's say you might not be able to put all the servers as the backup component to the Azure first, you can start small with a file or a folder that you need to protect. then you will have the access to the entire backup panel or the portal in management infrastructure, where you can see what are the additional options that you can have to onboard the other remaining servers, workloads, and everything. So then we can gradually move one by one to the backup solution based on the business requirements. So the cost can be not be a critical factor here. So it's only the what you are going to lose if you don't have this backup. So if you are losing like $1,000 or $10,000, if you lose this data, so you can just spend $100 a month to protect the data. So it is just the combination, right combination that you require, what you are going to lose, and what you can do to protect that, and how much that you can spend. If you can just spend a portion of the loss that you are going to occur, or this that you encounter in the future, so then a small portion of that can be invested as a preventive mechanism to the backup and the DR solutions. Then will be not having a huge impact when the disaster happens. Uh,
All right. Yeah, go ahead. Would you like to explain further on that, Gayan?
yes, I think
Okay.
yeah.
Well, for that, yeah, go ahead.
Anything to add to us? Yeah, I think I have spoken a lot.
Yes, you have actually explained it very well. Well, we're actually running a little bit out of time now. So allow me to go
Yeah.
to the next question. This actually goes to Jeffrey. So, where and how do organizations begin with their BCDR plan? And what must be their objectives? And how should they execute a robust BCDR plan? So this is more of the planning already and setting it up. Yeah.
So it's a great question, right? Mostly, the scene behind the truth is most organizations try to have a BCBR in place just because the top management requires it. And mostly what we have come across is just to satisfy the audit purpose, right? It is very important to know that BCBR is not the perception, nor to please another person's expectation. It is important that the measures are taken by drilling down to the real business scenarios. So again, relating back to the cost component, right? If we can get the exact nitty-gritty of information, which department, which area requires a proper solid BCDR, you can always optimize your cost, right? So how do we get there? How do we have a 360 view? Moving to the next slide. Yeah. So it's a systematic process, right? To start on your BZDR, you need to have the following. You need to have a risk management plan. You need to go into the nitty gritty to understand and have the understanding within the organization. What could cause an impact? How serious would that impact be in case if any? And what is the likelihood of it occurring again? And how do we reduce it and eliminate it, right? Going into the next slide. So you need to have a risk management plan where it has to be prepared and reviewed and stamped by the head of the division, right? I just don't want to go into detail. I will touch base after going through the processes which we need to follow. So this is the risk management plan which you need to have to understand the likelihood, the impact, and the priority, right? So that you have these showcased or have it in front of your business ethics and your business objective to make sure that you continue it, right? Going forward. Data security and the backup strategy, right? The frequency, the backup, the media service, person who is responsible, and backup procedure steps. All these needs to be written and had it understood within the organization, so that you need to, for you to make sure that you have a solid BCDR plan, right? This is the next slide. So you also need to have a business impact analysis where you will have to identify your critical business activities, the ports authority, relating that scenario once again. What is the impact to your business would be in case of any disruption? How long could your business survive without it? Right? So all these needs to be brainstormed within the organization, and you need to put your RPO and RTO in place and make sure everyone agrees to that. And that's where you can have a real optimized cost in place, and also you have a proper business continuity and disaster recovery plan. First, slide. So these are some areas in which you can go to the nitty-gritty. So there may be several departments within an organization, right? So you need to make sure that each and every department and the business activity names are mentioned, and you need to understand what would be the loss of revenue in case if number one department goes down, right? And what is going to be the impact? So all these needs to be put in a very structured way where the organization has the 360 view. So this is the response checklist, which is also very important. So once the incident is taken place, you need to come up with a response plan to make sure that you cover every aspect to make sure your business continues. So finally, what we would like to say is that, right, like Tulasi, Gayan, and myself, we explained, it's a systematic process. It's a cultural change. It's adoption which an organization needs to get in place to make sure they have the continuity of any business based on the importance, right? Every organization is important, so we need to understand the nitty-gritty, how important that particular department is, and how much coverage we should have in terms. The good example. So we used to have a kind of a discussion whenever we meet the top CIOs. There were so many reasons where the digital transformation was always lacking at certain places, but the COVID-19 was a trigger and a real lesson to most of the organizations, right? We call it as a trigger point, where that has made things easy for us, made us busy, where people realize the value of having the proper business continuity in place and having the business transform according to the technologies we have. And most importantly, what I would like to say is Microsoft is open, right? We are open for any technology. We are open for any backup solution to run on Azure, right? And we are on the ground available. Myself and Tulasi, we are on the ground available to meet any of our clients and take through the journey and the experience which we have gone through and give that proper consultancy to make sure, like we succeed, we want every person, every people, and every organization to achieve more. That's the Microsoft vision and the mission. Thank you. Tulasi, over to you.
All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
that, Jeffrey. Yes. So, that's actually this session has been very fruitful, and I'm definitely sure that our audience really learned a lot. Unfortunately, that's all that we have time left, right? But if there are any queries left unanswered from the audience, they can actually send them to Aliana at tech1global.com, and we'll be sure to get to them. All right. And also, it's really nice to know that Microsoft and, of course, TechOne Global, we're really open to any questions that you may have, and we'll be happy to help. So, if you have any questions on how you can get started with your organization's business continuity and disaster recovery strategy, you can book a free consultation with us. You can reach us through aliana at tech1global.com. And so now, before we go, Jeffrey, Tulasi, and Gayan, do you guys have any final thoughts or key takeaways that you'd like to share with everyone? Maybe we'll go with Jeffrey first.
So to all our valued customers, right? Like I said, we are on the ground available together with our partner, right? So please involve us. We have gone through industry-wise, geographic-wise, we have the experience. We are happy to come, discuss, and give you that learning which we had. Like Tulasi explained, there were certain scenarios which most of the organization failed, right? And what was the impact? It's the brand image. How many years an organization takes to build a brand, right? Just imagine due to not having a proper process in place which is simple and which can be optimized. There was an era where you need to spend a lot in terms of a DR, but it's not anymore. That's the agility and that's the flexibility the cloud brings to you, right? So involve us. We are readily available on the ground, right, to support you. That's my takeaway, and that's my support for you. Thank you.
Awesome. How about you, Tulasi?
Yeah, I think it was a very good session today. I think many people, I see quite a lot of questions coming up here. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So I want to highlight just two things. Number one, in addition to what Jeffrey said, yes, involve the right people. We are happy to help you. We are not the only people who can help you, anyone that you believe. Number two, when it comes to DR, yes, the important question that you asked, what is the cost? When you think of cloud, this is where the cloud is exceeding the expectation. If you have to implement a DR system on premise, you need to have a huge capex, similar to what you have spent for the production system, you need to think about for the DR. That is where change your mentality. If you are a CIO, if you are a decision maker, change your concept to cloud first mentality. That is the way that we see that people are successfully going ahead without any interruption, regardless of what disaster it is. So change your concepts to cloud first mentality. That is my biggest takeaway, which will make you succeed whatever the business that you are in. That is my takeaway. Gayan.
Great.
Yes, it was a great discussion, team. Tulasi, Jeffrey, thank you for joining us with the Tech One today. So as Tulasi said that we have the starting point that we require, you don't have to plan on this, putting that entire infrastructure to the DR. So it will be just a folder that you need to back up so that we can start small. So then we can gradually look into the solutions that we can implement in the industry level. So just have a plan. So you will be having just a folder that you need to back up and see how it works, how the pricing works. So it won't cost much of money or the processes or this huge amount of planning. So then you can see for yourself how effective and how efficient it is. So then you can so if we are a techie, so then you can see how this the solution works. So then you can we can have this the discussion raised up to the management to see how this the cost effectiveness or this how this easy management works. So you can have this real time setup. So we can arrange a POC and we can see it for you can see it for yourself how it works. Then you can decide for yourself. Yeah. So starting small it will be the key takeaway from me. So just approach to us and see how you can start small and proceed further. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jeffrey, Tulasi, and Gayan. And yes, you don't need to go big right away. What's important is that we start today. All right. So that's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And again, thank you as well, Jeffrey, Tulasi, and Gayan, for the wonderful webinar that we had today. So have a good day, everyone. Stay safe, and we hope to see you in our next event.